The other day, I was driving down a certain road in the Bay Area where I live. A good portion of it is a windy two-way rural road, with one lane in one direction and the other lane in the opposite direction. There are double yellow lines down the middle of the road, which they've reinforced with reflective pavement markers and rumble strips, the grooves in the road which make a noise if your tyre passes over them, letting you know you're drifting over the yellow lines. The message is clear: absolutely no passing other vehicles by crossing the lines. The only time you may do so is if you're specifically directed to do so by a police officer, a flagger, or a sign. Important detail for later. Currently, there's a major construction project that will take multiple years to complete. They started about a year ago and they anticipate it will be finished in 2025. This project has necessitated blocking off one of the lanes with cones, reflective delineators, and signs clearly indicating the lane is closed. There are temporary rumble strips in the lane letting you know that you're entering a construction site. Signs with the reduced speed limit of 25 miles per hour. This road is notorious for people wanting to drive fast. And other signs letting you know you're exiting a construction zone. To save the trouble of having to have a flagger on site, they've set up a temporary traffic light with a sign nearby saying that the wait time before it turns green will be 6 minutes. There's a white line indicating where you're supposed to stop. When I get to the light, I often just shift into park because I know it will be a while. Because one of the lanes is blocked off, when you're in that lane and reach the part that's blocked, you may cross over, but only when the light turns green. There's a sign directing you to cross over to the other lane and another sign directing you to go back once you're past the construction zone. I'm sharing all this detail because I don't see how they could make it any more clear that this is a construction zone other than having cops on site in addition to construction workers. Anyways, onto the story. I was in the lane which is blocked off. There was one car ahead of me. We get to the light, stop, and wait for it to turn green. Suddenly this guy in a Mazda SUV comes driving down the road, sees a bunch of cars stopped and is like, "No biggie, I'll just cross over the double yellow lines and pass everybody." So he gets into the lane going in the opposite direction, passes all of us. Then, once he sees that we're all stopped and there's a construction zone with a traffic light, he tries to get back into the right lane. Only he can't get in now because the car in front of me is stopped behind the line. There is literally no room for him to squeeze past us and get back into the right lane without driving into the part of the lane that's blocked off. So he wedges his way in as best as he can. But now he's past the white line that you must stop behind as well as the traffic light, so he isn't able to see when it changes. Obviously, we're all honking our horns as a means of asking, "WTF are you doing?" He gets out of his SUV. He's a middle-aged white guy, I'm guessing probably in his late 50s, and he starts spewing all this shit about how he's trying to get away from the cartel and that he's going to drive like hell in order to do so. He also mentioned some shit about having to get to the doctor. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was at this point that I went from feeling like the guy was an entitled dumbass to actually being kind of scared. We were all like, "Dude, you're going to kill someone if you do that." And he responded that he was the one who was going to get killed due to the cartel supposedly being after him. He then asked when he could go, and we told him when the light turns green. Remember, he's not able to see the light because he went past the line where you had to stop. The woman in front of me gets back into her car and moves back a few feet, and I do the same, in order to give the guy enough room so he could back in enough to where he can see what color the light is. I was very afraid that he was going to kill someone due to him saying he was going to drive like hell in order to escape whoever supposedly was after him and get to the doctor. Eventually the light turned green and we carefully made our way into the opposite lane, past all the construction, and then got back into the right lane. I was still really afraid he was going to do what he said he was going to do, as he was going pretty fast. Luckily, he wound up behind another SUV driver who was going at the speed limit. Thankfully, he stayed in the lane and didn't pass him.